The topic I chose to study was obesity and the link it has to television. My primary focus, however, was the link of television and weight and not necessarily totally about obesity. And I believe this is important because obesity in our country today has become a very big problem, and I think it's important to be educated on the problems going on in our country so that we have this knowledge to help improve the problem and for it in the future to be better. So, my first article was Television Use and Binge Eating in Adults Seeking Weight Loss Treatment. The authors were Jacob Burmeister and Robert Carrells, published in 2013. The participants in this study were adults seeking weight loss of 44 years age and a BMI of 38.5, which is important because a BMI of 38.5 is considered obese. And they are of all ethnicities, including Caucasian, Hispanic, African American, and Native American. The research method was a survey and experiment. So before these participants went on their weight loss treatment, they completed study measures at computer workstations and then went on to their weight loss programs, and scientists analyzed different factors that could possibly be an obstacle to their success. One of them was television, and this was measured by a set of questions along with the participants logging their weekly television use. And so the researchers' hypothesis was that they had a lot of prior knowledge, as there is a lot of research about television watch and obesity and weight. So there had been a lot of research and the scientists had knowledge of this. However, there has never been concrete evidence to prove obesity and television. So because of this, they decided to do this research to see if they could find concrete evidence, and their hypothesis was that there would be a link. And the findings from this study proved there is definitely a link between binge eating and television, which I thought was very interesting. Although they didn't find that link between obesity and television watch, they did find an association with one watching television, and it is often indulged in binge eating, which that is a link to obesity, because if the country has become more so involved in television, they're probably doing a lot more eating, and then that would cause a lot less physical activity. And it was also interesting because eating and TV going together, if one is trying to lose weight, they should participate less in watching TV, and just this study proving that weight loss is hindered by television and binge eating. It's just good to be cognizant of that. And then Article 2 was Linking Obesity and Activity Level with Children's Television and Game Use by Elizabeth Vandewater, Mi-Suk Shim, and Elizabeth Kaplowitz, published in 2004. And the population of this was 6 years of age, almost evenly split between boys and girls, which is interesting because it is different than the other study that had adults, and it gives a different perspective, which is good. And the majority were white and African American, and then the head of household for these children were also included, mostly males, and then at 72.7%, and then females at 27.3%. The research was an experiment. And so the experiment was that on 2 randomly chosen days, the head of household would have to log the child's activities, a primary activity hopefully being some sort of physical activity, and a secondary activity assuming it was a video game or television. And if it were not, if the primary activity was television use, they recorded details such as titles. And the findings in this were there were no compelling evidence or a finite link between obesity, but they did find a relationship between seating activities and weight, and that watching TV definitely has to do with one's weight, especially in children, which is alarming because obviously children are young. You don't want them to put on weight so that it doesn't become a pattern for most of their life. So overall, I did learn that there is a link between television watch and weight, and although my question of is there a link between that and obesity wasn't answered, I definitely have learned there is a link between weight and television, and to definitely be more cognizant of it.